And Chris Medland live from Singapore. Welcome to Speed City's post-race show for the Formula One Singapore Grand Prix. Lando Norris, pole to pole, takes the victory. You know what?
Flag
Flag to flag. I'm pretty excited about this post-race show, considering that the race was
dull.
Yeah, but I think you'd have to say by far the dullest of the season. Following up last week's, maybe the best of the season.
Yeah. Exhausting, I may add, but I mean, I can imagine that it was a hard row to get to the end, and you could see that there was a bit of a joke, obviously, with Coulthard pouring water all over Norris, but he actually looked genuinely relieved to get a full bottle of water thrown over him.
Wanted that. What'd you think, Bob Varsha?
Well, I agree with you. It was not a barn burner by any stretch, but an interesting demonstration of Formula One strategy and technology. Somehow gaps just burst open as the tires had their intended effects. And it won't go down as a classic, but it is the 15th race here at Singapore and the first without a safety car.
I know.
So there's something to be said for that.
Yeah, amazing. How did that happen?
Mm-hmm.
The first ever, and I would have bet Vegas odds would have made you a lot of money on that.
And being the softy I am.
They got through the first,
No, go for it.
Well, I was going to say, once they got through the first lap,
they
figured that they'd be okay the rest of the way, and it would just be a matter of that powerful undercut that we saw over and over again. Just a pretty standard race.
I know what you're going to say, Greeny. Ricciardo.
Yeah, being the softy I am, I love the fact that the sort of the poetic gesture that is Ricciardo. Just a footnote saying I'm still the fastest guy in Formula One, or I can be, before you get rid of me.
Well, and it was a gesture. It was a gesture by the team. It was
and controversial too, because he took away a point from Perez.
Yeah,
which
Well, and he also,
now,
go ahead, Bob.
Well, on that point, where does that point go? The rule used to be, and to my knowledge still is, that you do not get that fast lap point unless you finish in the top 10.
That is true. I can't believe we forgot that. Yeah, that is absolutely true.
Well, the announcers
I
see. Forget it too.
Yeah,
I mean, he may have set the fastest lap of the race, but he doesn't get the bonus point for fast lap.
Right.
And nobody therefore gets it. So that's what the controversy is. Because
next fastest guy gets it, and I believe that's Norris.
Yeah, so Norris keeps the point, but Danny Rick gets, to say that he had the fastest lap.
Okay. Yeah. So that's why the controversy is, because they could have brought in Checo and to do the same thing, because he was, because he was in 10th place.
Yes.
But instead, Red Bull got it. Yeah, RB got it. Interesting. No, you're absolutely right, Bob. Thanks for keeping us honest.
Well, but still, it doesn't take anything away from what the team did for Daniel Ricciardo.
Okay.
Okay, Casey is saying that our producer is saying nobody gets the point.
I don't think they do.
Oh, because somebody outside the top 10 got it. Yeah.
That makes sense. That makes sense. So nobody gets it. So what we're getting at, the controversy is that Red Bull have shot themselves in the foot by getting RB to get the fastest lap, when they could have sent out Perez to do the same thing and help the Constructors' Championship against McLaren.
So no matter how it's finished, it started as a nice gesture from the team.
Yeah.
And, I'm certainly they knew all this. All of us sitting here struggling, trying to.
But I don't think Red Bull will think foul of that in any way.
By the way, speaking of such, guess who your driver of the day is?
Daniel Ricciardo.
Daniel Ricciardo.
Yeah. Chris, did you hear us fumbling around trying to figure out exactly who got that fastest lap?
I did not hear you fumbling around, but it definitely was Daniel Ricciardo, and it took the point away from Lando.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Took the point away to Lando, but Casey was saying that nobody gets that point because it was somebody outside the top 10.
Correct. Yeah. So you only score if you're in the top 10, but if you do it, it doesn't then go to the fastest driver in the top 10. It just doesn't go to anybody.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
What was your take then, Chris?
On that move at the end?
No, just just generally?
Generally, I think that was a pretty
you can
dominant.
Say
Yeah.
Dominant. Well, first time we've not had a safety car.
Amazing.
There's part of me that didn't mind that. I think, we saw the true reflection of what Norris could do and the McLaren could do.
Yeah.
And we kind of got something that was still moving the championship in the right direction. I'm sorry, I was going to say, I think that's controversial what Red Bull and RB have done there.
Yes, it is. And Nate Saunders has tweeted out saying, the whole press room were talking about that fact, that it's a controversial decision to basically, take a point away from the possibility. I do think one thing stands out to me, and Martin Brundle mentioned it. We just saw McLaren beat Red Bull by a full pit stop, some 30 seconds. Now, that is a real state of where we are and how things have changed.
Yeah, did the same thing in Zandvoort, didn't they? Lando did that to Max there too. And here, he basically had that gap before the first pit stop. He was nearly a full pit stop clear before the first one. And then it was he got stuck in traffic at the end there, took it easy coming through traffic, and it cost him, I think, 7 or 8 seconds. So it would have been, I think the final gap was just under 21 seconds. It would have been 30. It would have been massive. So it's technically not the biggest margin of the year somehow, just because of the way the race ended. But it's, I think it was just a sign of actually how, dare I use the word desperate, Red Bull are right now, that every point matters so much that they will ask their other team to help them out with it.
Yeah.
Well, the point was made during the race that somebody did the math. And if Lando Norris wins every race, takes every bonus point, and that includes the sprints. There's no bonus in the sprints, but win every race, including the sprints. And Verstappen finishes second in every race. They would tie on points at the end of the season.
No,
so what we just witnessed,
going into the last race, I think is what he said.
Oh, is that what they said?
Yeah, that's what I heard.
So I'm going to dispute that. I'm going to dispute that. I don't think that's the case. Yeah. He says, no, it would be. You're right. It would have been from today.
I'll tell you what, it
would have been. So that's just stop that.
It makes Austin's Saturday race interesting, doesn't it?
Yes, it absolutely does.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great race.
If Norris were to win every single one from now on and take the fastest lap in every one from now on,
never going to happen.
And it's 1-2 in the 3 sprints as well, then you end up with Max as champion by 1 point, which is the point from today.
Wow.
So they're 52 apart, and there's 51 would be the swing in that case.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's why I'm confused by this. I thought when the bonus point for fast lap was instituted, you had to be in the top 10 to get it, just to prevent this kind of situation where cars from the back would pit, slap on a set of soft tires, and then go like stink. And it made it somewhat artificial because it took away from the battle up front.
It would be pretty ironic if the championship was won by a fastest lap.
Yeah.
Especially if it's a Red Bull championship won by Daniel Ricciardo, who's been kicked to the curb by half of the teams on the grid.
Yep.
So, Chris, give us the vibe from Singapore.
Do you know what? I'll admit it's slightly flatter. You've got a lot of people having a lovely time who are chilling out in terms of guests having a glass of something nice and cold, which looks delicious, I must say. Right now, while the teams are starting to pack up, but it's not a huge rush because a lot of it's air freight, so that's all planned out. It's not like packing up your trucks, and it's not a back-to-back. We've got actually 3 weeks, haven't we? We've got a big gap between now and getting ourselves over to Austin for the next one. So it's a little bit more leisurely than maybe it would be. I'm sure plenty of them have flights to catch, but if they're sensible, and most people are sensible, they know that you can't gamble on an early flight from here because of how the race can play out. So I don't think anyone's actually quite in the manic hurry as usual, but it is already an absolute mess in the paddock, as it always becomes, because pack up starts at the same time as media are running around, guests are trying to leave, and it gets pretty hectic. But I'm going to park myself, I think, at McLaren to start with, because I'm keen to know what they make of what Red Bull did there and the RB move. And similarly, I'd like to get Christian Horner's thoughts on it, because we were talking about it in the media centre as well, about do you do that with Checo?
Yeah.
Do you pick Perez out of the final point to take that point away from Norris?
Yeah.
And to be honest, we didn't consider that it could happen with one of the RB drivers, especially not with the weekend Ricciardo had been having. But Red Bull have always said that the two teams operate independently and they don't enforce team orders across the two teams. But I mean, pretty hard to believe after that one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Hey, one of my favorite moments of the race was at the very beginning when Colapinto takes it up inside and picks up, three
places.
Grid spots.
Alex Albon comes on the radio and goes, what's he doing? And he's like, he's overtaking people.
He's
right.
Great move.
Alex Albon is going, wait a minute, I'm not used to this. What's going on here? So someone else on my team is taking the limelight.
Yeah.
Colapinto, man, how about him? Jonathan, you had some speculation about him.
Yeah, I mean, there is still rumors. We don't know yet. We think Bottas has got the Sauber job, but could Colapinto come in at the last moment and snatch it?
Chris, you're on the ground, buddy. What do you got on that?
I this weekend heard fairly strongly about Bottas, that he was very confident he'd have a race seat next year. So that's already another twist from the last time I spoke to anyone around that seat who felt that Bortoleto might be in the frame. Just seeing if I don't know. I was going to see if we could speak to Fred Vasseur, but he's doing Italian television first, so we'll jump on after that. So yeah, that one's swung around a few times in terms of who could end up in that seat. But Colapinto's doing a great job, it must be said. At the very least, he's surely going to be the Williams reserve next year.
Yeah,
and on the radar for a lot of teams to pick him up. But also, he's just helping promote all of these F2 drivers. The job Clement's doing, the fact Antonelli's coming in. Bortoleto leading that championship there's another reason why he's being linked with these seats, is because look what all of the drivers that he's even beating can do.
Yep, no question.
Yeah.
I'm trying to check on constructor standings and driver standings, but in the meantime, let's just look at some of the results from today. Hulkenberg in the points. We'll talk about how that's going to affect the point standings. Russell 4th and Hamilton 5th for Mercedes, sandwiched by Leclerc in 5th. Carlos Sainz in 7th. And Perez down in 10th, kept a point for the team there. Yuki Tsunoda finishing 12th, ahead of Ocon. Jonathan, what were you saying about Ocon?
No, I'm just looking at the
next year.
I was just looking at the impressive ability of Haas to, with a good driver, create some stir, and they're doing it with Hulkenberg. And will Ocon suddenly come alive? Because we haven't seen the best of either Gasly or Ocon this year because the Alpine's not been competitive. I'm expecting Ocon therefore to slip into the Haas and potentially create some news.
Yeah, and have a competitive car. And yeah.
Yeah, I spoke to Ocon's manager actually yesterday in the paddock about that move and about the future at Haas. They're really excited. They're looking forward to that kind of setup, going into a team that they really feel is going to be just fully focused on racing. You don't have the concerns, the outer distractions that have been going on around Alpine and Renault in recent years, and are performing so well. And they're really looking forward to that fresh start there. Plus, you've got things like there's talk of a potential new factory for Haas in the future. That they're kind of looking into that. They're going to have a new motorhome. They are investing in a lot of their facilities. So, there's momentum. And I think excitement there that Gene Haas is really putting his money where his mouth is, and the team's delivering on track too.
Yeah, and they're winning in NASCAR as well.
Yep. We do have...
And that team is going to be very, very different next year because Tony Stewart's pulling out.
That's right.
Oh,
It's going to be Gene Haas's team in its entirety.
Yeah, well, we do have some updated constructor standings on the F1.com, the officials. So McLaren with 516, Red Bull 475, and Ferrari 441, and Mercedes 329, 100 points back there. And then on the driver standing side, it is now...
Haas now 3 points away from Honda. RB Honda.
Oh, yeah. We should go down the constructor standings. You're absolutely right, because...
That's a really interesting battle for 6 now.
Yep. And...
Did you say 475 to 441 between Red Bull and Ferrari there?
Yep.
34 points.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's closed up a little, maybe.
Yeah.
And speaking of, Fred Vasseur's just finished an interview with Sky Italia, which he does very well because he has to look down the lens of a camera that's speaking to him from a studio. But Fred, that looked like a really good recovery today. I mean, there was no real action to mix it up, and you got yourself some solid points.
Yeah, at the end, it's a good race. I'm not sure that it would have been possible to do a better job than this one, perhaps to catch Russell at the end. But overall, it's a very good Sunday, starting from 9/10s, that we are scoring good points. We did a good strategy, good pit stop, very solid race, very solid tire management, and it was the perfect Sunday. It's probably even a bit more frustrating for the Saturday, but it is like it is, and we have to be focused on the next one.
Did you have probably the second quickest car today, do you think, the way you came through the field and looking at the gaps?
Difficult to know because we were not on the same race as Norris. I think the last stint we matched Lando. The difference is that Lando was probably a bit more relaxed, perhaps doing some cool, I'm not sure, but doing some cool to recharge. And we are not on the same plan, but I think the race pace was quite similar.
And I think you edged back towards Red Bull with points, the way this one played out. I'm told the gap's 34 between you now after today.
So we have still 300 points on the table that we'll have time to discuss about this.
Well, head to Austin next. You've had a run of tracks that people thought would suit you, and you've performed well at them. But as you say, yesterday tripped you up in terms of this result. What are you expecting from the next triple header that's coming up?
Well, it will be the same challenge. I think there is no big reason to have a modification. That we will all bring upgrades, and from track to track, it will be a different classification. But I hope it will be still the same fight.
I'm going to ask you one question that's totally off topic from your team, so apologies for that. But we saw Red Bull and RB kind of collude in the sense that Daniel Ricciardo took the fastest lap away from Lando Norris at the end after pitting right at the end. What do you make of that?
I don't care.
I did wonder if you'd say that, but I had to ask.
No, I have to be focused on ourselves. We have to be focused on ourselves. If we want to do the fastest lap, we have to be the fastest.
Fair enough. Thank you very much, Fred.
We're going to clip that
Good
I don't
answer.
care out. By the way, we have to pause and listen to what he said.
Yeah.
Just kind of dropped something in there, and he said, "Good strategy, good points." But he said, "Good strategy," and we've all forgotten about the disastrous strategy that Ferrari.
Oh, he's right of the ship. Absolutely.
But he didn't say it in a way.
No.
He didn't say it in a way of, bragging or whatever. He just kind of was saying it very matter of fact. But I just wanted to point that out because
I tell you. Oh,
because it's worth pointing out.
That's what we needed, and that's what we got.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm really looking forward to the potency of Ferrari next year with Vasseur now he's made his stand. He's got the team he wants, and now he's got the two drivers he wants. I mean, we talk about McLaren having a potent force. Ferrari are looking good for next year.
Yeah, that's very true. But Chris, I'm glad you asked the question, no matter what the answer was.
Yeah, exactly.
I was hoping he would say something about Daniel Ricciardo, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was not expecting much out of him. And that's why I did almost apologize when I started the question. But, I think it is going to be a talking point. And sometimes, actually, then will bring us back down to earth. If no other team says anything of it, and they're like, I don't care, then maybe we're making too much of it. But if, we haven't spoken to McLaren yet, and I'm going to hang around there as much as I can to see their thoughts. They're probably the most important ones. If they go, that's, we kind of expect that. That's what's going to happen when you've got two teams, then fine. But if they're not happy, then you want to gauge from kind of independent observers what they think.
All right, well, coming up right after this, we're going to have Chris with his microphone, even more right after these messages.
As they say in America, I think it's a nothing burger.
A nothing burger. I like that. That's true.
I don't know where that expression comes from.
Jonathan, he said, Vasseur has the drivers he wanted. My understanding was that Vasseur was not sold on having Lewis Hamilton on the team. That came down from above, from the executive suite.
Well, it kind of was. The decision to have Hamilton was made kind of before Vasseur got his feet under the table, didn't he?
All right, let's check out YouTube. See what
it's Easton, isn't it? What's the guy who owns Ferrari?
John Elkann.
Yeah,
Elkann.
Yeah.
Sorry, Elkann.
Kevin Kelly's on YouTube says, "Shocking, no safety car." Yeah, and Joe Oysterbay says, "Oscar's hair isn't even wet." Okay. Let's see.
It was after Coulthard got to him.
Yeah,
it was.
True. Andy P says, as it was said yesterday, Lando is on a mission this weekend. On to Austin, baby. Yeah, can you believe it? But we have to wait a month. It's weird. This month right now off. It's just a weird time.
Yeah, sorry about that, everybody. But I am looking forward to 3 whole weekends in a row.
Don't blame you.
At home, yeah.
You should.
Yep. I've got some plans for both of my cars during this month off. Going to tinker. Let's see. Alex, AIX, actually, it's AIX. Says,
I like this.
If Red Bull, RB and Red Bull shuffling drivers, how about promoting Yuki, demoting Checo, and replacing Danny with Liam?
Well, and ironically, from a form guide, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yuki is producing.
Yep. And we get to hear a lot more of Yuki on the radio, I bet, too.
No, to be honest, that's an unwritten story, so to speak, is how well Yuki has now survived his opening years in Formula One. And let's face it, when he first arrived, everybody was like, not so sure.
Here we go.
Hi, this is Max Verstappen, and you're listening to Speed City.
Welcome back to the fastest hour in radio, Speed City.
Welcome back, Jon Massengale, Jonathan Green, Bob Varsha, and Chris Medland in Singapore.
Does a promotion for us count as community service?
Sure, why not?
Yeah, there you go. Well done, Max. Thanks, Max.
Thanks, Max. We appreciate that, Max. He's your obligation's done. You're free to enjoy your you're free to... Nicely played, Casey. Let's see. What else, Jonathan, about this weekend? I'm going to say this race. We've probably talked about the high points already, but...
Yeah, there really wasn't.
There was a couple. Lando Norris hit the wall twice. He hit... That's
true.
And still continued his race.
What I think, if you really want to get the purists amongst us talking, the reliability of this current group of cars and drivers is astounding.
Yeah, I had it written down. Albon with a power unit failure or a cooling unit, whatever it was. That was so unusual.
I watched free practice 1 and I thought, wow, this is going to be one hell of a weekend because nobody can go in a straight line.
Well,
everybody was sideways and everybody was slip sliding away, and then the rain came and it got even worse. And I thought, God, this is going to be really unpredictable. And I said before the race, we don't know what kind of performance Mercedes and Red Bull can do, given that those laps that they put in qualifying were kind of anomalies.
And Bob Varsha, the reliability, the fact that we're in Singapore on this bumpy track, this hot, this intensity, you'd expect this is where we'd see it, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you would think so. But it was a remarkable race from that perspective. But we see that so often now. To see more than 2 cars, fall out of a race is really an unusual thing right now. I think I've told the story before of the small book I wrote with Dan Gurney before he passed. And I was doing research for that. And back in his day, in the 60s and 70s, you'd lose half the field in a Formula One race.
Yeah, you would.
You had 26 cars out there, maybe 15 would reach the finish. So totally ignoring Olivier Panis's win in Monaco back in the 90s when 4 cars reached the checkered flag.
Yeah.
So, it's they've come a long way. The technology is something else.
Speaking of technology,
something else worth noting, I think.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Bob.
Of nothing. Looking at those results, I didn't realize until the race was over that the leader lapped everybody up to 7th place. Carlos Sainz in the Ferrari.
Oh,
that's
nice!
Amazing.
Wow.
I had no idea. I mean, he just bulldozed this field, which is according to what Jonathan said earlier about. How crazy it looked like it was going to be and how closely matched a lot of the cars were in practice. I mean, the idea of Norris going around there and nearly lapping the Ferraris.
Yeah. Wow.
Is pretty staggering.
Hey, Jonathan, one of my favorite things that I noticed very clearly today, you commented on it too. The bumper cam is what I'm calling it.
Yeah, the shot of the first lap was amazing.
Yeah, the camera on the back of the car looking back, it's amazing. And showing the way you're talking about that lap where they showed Albon going off track and all the dust and all the the action where you're right. It's really amazing. Hey, Chris, I hear your mic lighting up. What's happening out there?
I'm just near too many people, I'm afraid. It's just the fact that it's really hectic around where the drivers do their interviews in the TV pen. But I got a tip off that if I came down here, I might see a certain Zak Brown, and I can see a certain Zak Brown. So I'm going to see if I can doorstep him, do my normal cheeky trick of trying to steal him off the back of another interview. And I know why, because he does have someone with him from the team.
Yes. Did we lose you, Chris?
Well, there's nothing like dead air.
Well,
Sorry. Yeah, wasn't that entertaining. I was just checking that I could speak to him on the way back up to hospitality, and I can, I'm told. So,
oh, cool.
I'm now trying to keep my voice down enough so that I don't annoy the TV crew he's currently talking to.
Well, we'll talk about you. What do you want? What do you want to need to know from Zak?
Well, I mean, but we'll talk performance, but I really do want his reaction to that fastest lap.
Yeah, I agree.
So those two will be the main ones. We'll start positive because he can't control that, but they can control what they do. And he said 1-2, why not today? 1-3, close.
Yeah, very close.
I was looking at, speaking of laps, Carlos Sainz 49 laps on the hard tire, Hamilton 45. I think those are the two top number of laps today. And pit stops. Ricciardo, of course, had 3.
Jack Woodruff on our YouTube made a good point. It's all very good that we're all waxing rhapsodic about Lando, but what about our Red Bull's progress? Singapore, they were nowhere last year, and now front row start for Max and an excellent finish. So they've got that right.
Yeah, and Andy P followed that up with saying that Lando, he thinks it's winning 6 in a row is unrealistic.
Yeah, true.
I think that's kind of always right. In this, in this
game,
I say always right now in this season, not last year, but this year. So let's see what else.
Unless you're Max Verstappen.
Yeah. Hey, let me just run down the total order while Chris is waiting on Zak Brown. So Lando Norris wins the race, followed by Max Verstappen, Oscar Piastri, George Russell, McLaren.
Good timing, so I can cut you off as well because Zak's here. I'm going to hopefully help him get along the paddock. Zak, let's start with the good. First and third, very nearly the first and second you predicted. Dominant performance. How happy are you with that?
It was awesome. I mean, Lando was just on another level today. Oscar, brilliant pass, unbelievably quick, almost the perfect weekend. Car was so robust. It was fast and it was robust because as Lando said to us in the on the podium, he went, "Hey, did you see I touched the wall?" I was like, "Yeah, we happened to notice that a couple times." So just a great team effort, and we just got to keep our head down, keep doing what we're doing, enjoy the moment, but then back at work on Monday.
Do you think though you've got the car that will be maybe not this dominant, but this competitive everywhere? Because you've been Zandvoort, Monza, Baku, are now here where you can either win races or have won races.
I think we're going to be very fast everywhere. I think to think we'll be dominant would be a bit too cocky and arrogant, and that's exactly what gets you in trouble in this world. So we're going to just keep doing what we're doing, enjoying it, pushing hard, knowing how quickly things can move in this sport. We're not going to take anything for granted.
And just finally, we saw at the very end there, maximum points got away from Lando because Daniel Ricciardo made a pit stop and took away the fastest lap. What did you make of that?
That's a nice A-B team sporting that I didn't think was allowed. But hey, it's not the first time we've seen it. Probably won't be the last.
Is there anything you can do to question that, talk about it?
I'll certainly ask some questions. I think, it's something I've spoken about in the past, and I think it illustrates that it does happen because I think you wouldn't have made that pit stop to go for that. It's not going to get anyone a point. So I think it does illustrate the issue around that topic.
Awesome. Well, thank you and well done today.
Thank you.
Interesting.
That's interesting. I wonder if Red Bull, just thinking about this going, hey, maybe we can get away with this because of what's happening with Daniel Ricciardo being last race potentially. I don't know.
I think what Zak's pointing at is that it becomes pointless,
yes,
as it were.
Yeah,
kind of thing, because you
can't get the point.
Yeah, it becomes pointless.
Pointless by definition.
By definition.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't really see that from any other team or driver at any stage, other than maybe if you were, for example, Sergio Perez and outside the points. And you're using one of your two cars to do that. I think that's understandable. When it's another team doing it, I think that's why the questions will be asked. But at the same time, you know what? At this point, I'm kind of going to say fair play to Red Bull if, as the rules are written, that's allowed.
Yes.
You know, maybe those rules do need changing, but we are not here to say, oh, don't do that because we don't want you to. If it's legal, absolutely take advantage. That's what you got to do.
And haven't we just gone through this with the rear wing with McLaren? You know,
it
was they took advantage.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw some of the comments on that story where McLaren is cheating. No, they're not.
No, they're not cheating.
They didn't do anything wrong.
Nope.
The rules, wasn't it Smokey Yunick, the old NASCAR cheating guru, who said the rule book tells you what you cannot do. It doesn't tell you what you can do. And that's what engineers in Formula One spend lots of time on, is parsing those rules. What can we do that doesn't violate this but allows us to do this?
That's the essence of Formula One. Yeah.
It's the game. Yeah.
Yep. All right.
And it is ironic that McLaren goes through that and then hasn't turned on them.
I know we touched on this, but another one of my favorite things is that Daniel Ricciardo, driver of the day. I think that's so cool that they gave that to him, that they being the fans, because the fans are the ones that vote on that. So
I think he will remain for some years to come as one of the most popular drivers that's ever graced Formula One.
Yep. Let's see. What else? Just looking at the results. Alonso somehow quietly keeps finishing in the top 10. Quietly. What were you going to say,
was that P8 for him today?
Yep, P8.
Yeah, and I think that was particularly impressive because he hit very early. I think that was they went for an undercut there at Aston Martin, but an aggressive one. I'm going to try and find Mike Crack actually to not doorstep him with a what's gone wrong with Lance Stroll's car question and give him an actual what good job you did today question. Because you're right. I out of nowhere suddenly Alonso had a Hulkenberg who looked really good in the first part of that race. And it nearly got away, didn't it, from Haas? Hulkenberg ended up ninth and held off Perez, but it just felt like it nearly got away from them.
Yeah. Yep. All right, well, look, let's take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll bring you more from the Singapore Grand Prix right after this. Let's check your mic, Bob.
Yeah, your mic's not right, Bob.
Is it better now?
Nope. It sounds like your mic is across the room is what it sounds like.
That's weird.
Go to Zoom. Go to Zoom and click the audio button, audio settings button, and you can choose your microphone there.
I see. Yeah. I pulled one of my AirPods because it was hurting, and I changed the cushion, and I guess I disengaged.
Yeah.
Is it better now?
It's weird. It's a little better, but not. Oh,
sounds similar to me, yeah.
Yeah, Casey said didn't change at all.
Really? Well,
yeah.
I don't know what else to do. Should I shut the AirPods down?
Yeah, do a Bluetooth on and off, I'd say, with your AirPods. You might need to reconnect. Just a sec.
Yeah, turn your Bluetooth on and off, Bob. See if that fixes it.
Sorry, just finding out that we can't get Mike Crack live if we're live to the top of the hour because he's in debrief already.
Okay.
Andy P says, thank you, Bob. Feel like I've been having that argument all weekend and you just summed it up better than I could.
Mm-hmm.
What's that?
What you were saying about McLaren.
Oh.
No, it's still got the wrong mic. It's for whatever reason. It's still,
has it?
Yeah.
Oh, sounded clear.
It sounded better then.
Talk again, Bob.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, that's better.
Bob.
Yeah, that's better.
Okay.
It's much better, but still sounds a little echoey.
Well, now I'm not on the AirPods at all. You're listening to the computer mic.
Okay.
That sounds good.
That's why.
Yeah. Yeah, just make sure you lean. Just lean in as best you can on that whenever you're just. All right.
I'm using that mic you send me.
I know. I never remember that.
Well, I'll call you tomorrow.
Yeah. Thank you. TW says, Control Alt Delete. All right, here we go.
I'm George Russell, and you're listening to Speed City.
Welcome back to the fastest hour in radio, Speed City.
Thank you, George Russell, finishing fourth today.
You do like to do your impression of George Russell, don't you?
George Russell. Lando Norris with a crazy dominant victory today, tightening up the Drivers' and Constructors' Championship with a dominant win in Singapore. And, I guess the big story here is that it is getting closer, but it seems to be okay. Jonathan, how about a prediction?
Ooh.
What is going to happen with these? With the drivers? I mean, constructors seems like McLaren's going to take this, right? It seems like it, or seems more likely. But the drivers, to me, it's still, you have to say Max is probably still the favorite because
absolutely.
of the number of points.
Yeah, I mean, Red Bull haven't stopped performing, and today is a good example. I mean, all right, yes, McLaren are ahead, but the fact is, I think it was on Checkered Flag that they said the points difference was 62 points like 8 Grand Prix ago, and now it's 52. He's losing, but only incrementally, to the point whereby he shouldn't lose this championship because he's still performing at a top 3 level every weekend.
Yeah.
Well, I'd argue though, what was the points gap after or before Zandvoort? Like in the summer break, weren't we up into like the 90s?
No, okay, yeah, fair enough.
I don't remember.
It's the last 4. If you get Lando's win with fastest lap, so 8 points took out of him in Zandvoort. Then you've got Monza, where Lando was 3rd, and Max was 6th, I think. But he took another roughly 8 points out of him there. Only the 3 points in Baku, and then another 7 here. So I think we're looking at roughly 25, 26 points over the last 4 races. Do that over the next 4, and you've got 2 to go, and there's less than a race in between them. So anything can happen then.
Yeah. It's certainly, I mean,
and
this
if
is
Max, if Max can defend his championship, given the performance disparities between the Red Bull and McLaren right now, that will be an achievement.
Yeah, impressive.
Agreed. Yeah. I think today's a day where, as you guys said actually about the Red Bull results here, I know the gap was big, but to get second at a track that they've really struggled at, they were miles off last year and they are far less competitive this year. I think this will be a weekend where you go proper good defensive result for them. And it's a very different way to try and win a championship, but hey, it's entertaining.
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely it is.
I love what Lando said. I don't think we had the clip of him saying this, but it was right after qualifying. He said that he said the car was perfect. We didn't touch the car all weekend. They didn't do anything. Complete contrast to what Lewis Hamilton was saying about Mercedes.
They were going up and down like yo-yos, yeah.
They turned and adjusted every knob on the steering wheel and
turned it up to 11.
Yeah. And Lando said they didn't touch the car all weekend, so McLaren have just got it perfect right now, don't they?
Yeah, and I think you can hear in Zak's interview there with Chris, he's kind of hesitant to kind of crow about their form at the moment because he knows how Formula One works, of course. But they're in a good position.
Okay, how about we have a new award? What was your favorite team radio? I know what mine was.
I've got oversteer and understeer.
So I tweeted out, so you got oversteer and understeer, so the car's perfectly balanced. So, Chris, when you have oversteer and understeer, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, it's absolutely a bad thing because that very much sounds like you don't know which one you're going to get. But how do you remember which corner is going to be which and how do you fight it?
Well,
but it does show the disconnect then they clearly had at that point. Mercedes say that they actually just outperformed their car yesterday. They kind of sent around some notes on the flag and they were pointing out that actually starting so high was a false position, and they seen quite clearly over the distance of the race that they had the 4th quickest car today behind McLaren, Red Bull and Ferrari. So it was damage limitation. They tried to do something different with Lewis starting us off, see if he can gain positions, but at the very least make sure he didn't lose any positions, which I think, in that sense, he didn't lose any off the line, did he? But he faded early in that first stop, made that first pit stop much better than anyone else, and then was in trouble. But I don't think it was just strategy. I think that was just car pace.
Well, let's talk about the big news story of the day. Lando Norris has finally completed a first lap from pole.
That's true.
We've
made history.
I mean, it should have been his first Grand Slam, shouldn't it, as well?
It should have been, yeah.
He had every lap that he'd led, and he tried his best to throw it away a couple of times, as Zak said. Kept us all on the edge of our seats with his close moments and taps to the wall, but to then, to see that final fastest lap point go away, a bit of a killer for him right at the end of the race. Funnily enough, that we look at statistics. We love to judge drivers on statistics. So the Grand Slam statistic is actually quite often brought out. Like when a driver was so dominant, so good that they were on pole, they were never behind anybody the whole race, and they set the fastest lap. Couldn't be touched. Well, you're going to get fewer of those based on the fastest lap point that we now have, because it's worth someone else, if they can, making a pit stop and just nicking that fastest lap. When there wasn't a point for the fastest lap, no one, running sixth with 30 seconds behind them is going to risk coming in for a pit stop just for the kudos of the fastest lap. It had to have a reward. That's why they now do it. So you're going to see fewer of those, I think. Lando maybe would have a few more in his future if you didn't actually get the point for the fastest lap, if that makes sense.
I want you to go get Helmut Marko's take on that fastest lap. Not Christian Horner, because he'll say what is supposed to be said. I want you to get Helmut Marko, because we'll get the real story.
No, I want you to put your hands around Marco's neck and tell him what the driver lineup is for next year.
Well, that too.
Next year or next race, I think.
Exactly. Next race.
Yeah.
We're making preparations for Austin. We need to know.
Yeah, exactly. I'll say it's for our notes. I will head that way. I will see who's at Red Bull. Hopefully Christian Horner's done with his print media briefing now. That was running a little bit late, so we're hoping to see if he'll speak after that. And who knows, we might bump into on the walk as we dodge all of the guests who are still crowding around where the drivers go in and out of the TV pen.
All right, well, you do that, Chris. Jonathan, my second favorite team radio, also George Russell, when he said, "I need a bit of encouragement, mate." Remember that?
Why was
he said that over team radio?
Yeah. Well, they giving him a hard time?
Did you hear that, Bob?
Yeah, I did hear that. And I always think, you're a professional driver.
Yeah.
Come on. If you have to be encouraged, what
I
does that
think
say about
it may have been asking. What's your take on that, Chris? Because he may have been asking something rather than just the emotional support. What do you think?
I think it might be that probably he's seeing the picture of the race, that we're not that quick, we're going backwards. I'm fighting for everything I can do here, and there's not a lot I can actually do to stem the flow of people coming past us or putting us under pressure. And if that was the case, and that's what he was saying, then he wants them to turn around and go, no, you're still in it. If you do this, this will happen. Or here's who we're racing. Here's why it's a crucial stint right now. Yeah. Clearly, they didn't have that for him, because he didn't really get an answer at all, did he? He got told, you're driving well, or it was something specific to the way he was accelerating out of corners, I think. It really did look like they were scraping the barrel to go, okay, what's positive right now? But, yeah.
Well, you're kicking the tar out of those Saubers.
Yeah, absolutely. But it is a tough race on the drivers, this one. I mean, Lando said he was dizzy, didn't he, after getting out of the car? So you can also understand when you're slogging away and probably drained, and I'm not going to say wondering if it's worth it, but you are looking for something to motivate yourself. Why not just message the team and say, hey, what's good right now? What's out there that I can get my teeth stuck into? Because another thing, look at the encouragement Norris got in terms of, or reminders he got from his race engineer about how hard it was to follow when he was coming up to lap cars, and maximum concentration now, take a drink. Because Lando says he doesn't like drinking in the car because it can make him feel sick. So, he needed that almost pep talk from his own race engineer when he was dominating the race. But because I was likening it to last year when he's in a fight right behind Carlos Sainz, Mercedes behind him, focused on what's going on around him. When you're dominating, it's just you've got to keep that concentration, and your mind can wander slightly onto how you're feeling, or something you're doing with the car, or get distracted in any way, shape or form, and then you get mistakes. So you can see why it's crucial that these race engineers do speak to them regularly enough.
All right, here's another team radio. Perez back to the pits. He says, we're talking about Colapinto. He says, he is very good. He says, difficult to pass. That's a line on your resume right there.
Yeah, no, I've just been watching the onboard of his start. I mean, amazing.
You mean you're not watching football?
No.
On the TV?
I'm about to have my breakfast, so stand by internet.
Stand by YouTube. God. I had mine during the race. I'm really embarrassed that I don't eat it in mid-show like you, Greeny.
Yeah.
It was a great start, it must be said. Cracking start, and as you say, cracking defending. Christian Horner's with me now, and Christian, we're actually talking about Franco Colapinto, because we heard Checo's team radio saying he's tough to pass. Was it as expected in the sense of trying to come through with traffic with Checo today, that it's just really difficult to make progress?
Yeah, look, I mean, congrats to Franco. I mean, 3 races in and he's driving like a veteran. So I've been very impressed by him. But Checo just got stuck and we didn't have traction with him that enabled us to really get into an overtake position. So that was frustrating. But Lando was in a class of his own today. So congrats to Lando and McLaren. But I think we extracted everything out of the car that we possibly could. And I think that where we were on Friday to where we were today, I think if you'd have offered us that on Friday night, I would have taken that result.
And surely you'd have taken it as well, even coming here, based on what happened last year in the Formula team.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this was a bogey circuit for us last year. So, we had everybody covered apart from Lando today, who was in a class of his own.
But what do you put that down to? Is it just the engineering work done from Friday, or is it actually work done before that in terms of improving the car, little upgrades, that sort of thing?
I think a bit of everything. And, we scared ourselves on Friday. We were out of the window with the car. We managed to make a significant step on Saturday. We've got to make another step if we're going to get on top of Lando.
Is that step coming before Austin? Have you got big package to come for that?
Look, I'm sure everybody's going to, it's a natural break in the championship that nobody's standing still. And I'm sure everybody is going to be trying to get performance on the car.
Yeah, and the final topic is one that's going to be a hot topic. I'm sure you've been asked about it before. The fastest lap at the end of the race there. Zak Brown not particularly happy that it was a different team that then came and took the point off. What happened there, I guess?
Racing Bulls stopped and did the fastest lap at the end of the race. So, there's nothing more to it than that. Kevin Magnussen would have had it had he not gone wide, earlier in the race. And, he has a Ferrari engine. So, every team has its, has its own independence.
But to be fair, like Magnussen's lap was because he'd had a puncture and had to pit.
Sure.
Whereas Daniel was risking a car that was going to finish 19th with an extra pit stop to take a fastest lap that had no points value to him. I think that's why the question comes up.
So it's always going to get raised because there's the same ownership of the two teams. So, it's inevitable that question's going to get raised. But, Daniel's lap in a Grand Prix car, he wanted to, remember he gets paid on a bonus on a fastest lap.
Was it his final lap in a Grand Prix car?
We're going to look at all the permutations with the drivers over this natural break now. So nothing to report on that at this point.
Okay, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate the answers.
Hey, Chris, your mic has been perfect, and it dropped out when you just asked Christian Horner, is it his last race?
I can tell you said no movement on that front right now. But the answer was we will review the driver situation in this natural break between races. So what he did not say and didn't, basically, if I'm reading into the answer he just gave, yes, that was Daniel's last lap in a Grand Prix car, because he didn't say, no, it wasn't. And that would be a very bizarre thing to not say no to if it definitely wasn't his last lap. Yeah. So he said it will be reviewed between these two races, and that I would say that tells you all you need to know.
Okay, well, after this, we're going to talk more about that, but we're also going to talk quite a bit about what is happening in 30 days here at Circuit of the Americas. Back after these messages. Wow, that was interesting, Chris.
Very. I wasn't letting him get away with that Magnussen line. I was like, come on, Kevin had to pit for tyres. He punctured one.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, I'm checking YouTube. Let's see. Let's see. AIX says it would be karma if Max lost the Drivers' Championship at Abu Dhabi. Boom.
Ooh. Somewhat controversial.
Let's see. Nico Hulkenberg 10th in the points now, says TW. And Andy P says Christian Horner almost said Daniel wanted to go out with a bang. Kevin Kelly said, awesome interview, Chris.
Yeah, good job.
Yeah, thank you. I'm sorry that last answer dropped off then, because that was the most telling one of the lot, I'd say.
Well, it only is just a couple of the words. We might be able to clean it up and use it out on social, but yeah.
It's worth keeping for wheel to wheel for sure.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I want to talk about Coda, man. We got actually technically 28 days, I think.
Yeah, just under a month.
Yep.
Yeah, 4 weeks to the day.
4 weeks to the day, so 28 days. Tickets
I can
still
see
available.
Daniel Ricciardo right now. He's still doing television, so fair play to them. And the Red Bull press officer that was just with me for the Christian Horner interview is already down here listening to Daniel doing television.
Any shot do you think could get him, or is TV going to dominate him for the next 10 minutes?
Highly unlikely, but I'll give it a go.
That would be nice. What are you playing over there, Johnny?
I'm trying to play. Ricardo's on Twitter. I'm just trying to see what he said.
All right, coming back.
Hi, this is Karan Chandok, and you're listening to Speed City.
Welcome back to the fastest hour in radio, Speed City.
Welcome back. I said we're going to talk about something happening in 30 days, and that's the United States Grand Prix right here in our little town of Austin, Texas.
Austin, Texas, baby.
Yeah,
baby.
baby.
Home of the UT, Austin.
Do they play
UT?
here?
Yeah,
UT?
they do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't pay any attention to them. But yes, we got COTA coming up in exactly a month, 28 days from today. And we got us a showdown because we're going to have a championship going on for sure. Still, I say for sure, but 99.9% chance. And we got Sting as one of the concerts. We got Eminem as the other concert.
Oh, I love M&Ms.
I do love the
We'll
green
definitely
ones.
still have a championship going on.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
Where's the 0.1% chance that...
I don't
it'll be all
know.
over
I
now?
just figured I'd just...
He's making it up, Chris. He's had a long night.
Well, you know what? You know what's sensible about that? If Lando Norris and Charles Leclerc both retire from Formula One in this gap, and Oscar Piastri, I guess, he's mathematically in it too, then Max will be champion already.
See?
won't he?
There you
So,
go. Wow.
See,
that's a good point.
See, you just never
Breaking
know.
news here.
You do, yeah. It's like when they say there's a 0% chance of rain.
That's it. You've got the intro. Go for it.
Yeah.
I was just looking through COTA's Twitter account, and they're talking about all the, the concerts and everything, but they also talking about the new Smooth Payment, which we got to see in person.
Yeah. Yes, we just
At the Lone
yeah,
Star Le
we did
Mans?
WEC. Yeah. And for all intents and purposes, I didn't hear a complaint about it. Did you?
No, not at all.
And there's a lot of very star-studded
Yeah,
performers.
Prima Donna, I mean,
and
driver-
Prima Donna, no, but people like Kvyat, who've been coming here for many years, had no problems with the new surface. So I think that's something for Chris and his other journalists to take on board, that we've just had WEC, and it seems that the track is as smooth as it's ever been.
You know what? If you're still listening on the radio, you YouTubers that are watching don't count because you're already subscribed. But if you're listening on the radio and you want a pair of tickets to go see the United States Grand Prix in Austin, I know it's last minute.
Eric, if you're listening, this is your chance.
You got to go to YouTube and you got to be a new subscriber. I already have the list of the current subscribers because we only have like 1,500 subscribers.
Are you stalking our subscribers?
That's what I do, man. I'm geeky, nerdy person that I am. And if you go to our YouTube account and subscribe, we're going to pick someone and give them a couple of tickets as a YouTube subscriber. There you have it. Chris is down there by the Red Bull hospitality in the paddock, seeing if he can get Daniel Ricciardo. He's got 25 TV cameras in his face probably. But Chris, how's it looking?
You know what? I'm trying to count the TV cameras. There's less than 25 of those. There's probably about 4 or 5. There's, crikey, 7 or 8 members of the RB team hanging around.
Just
Not sure why all of them are here. But
Just ask him what NASCAR
they're
team he
in
wants
the
to
way.
drive for.
Yeah, wow. He did say IndyCar still scares him, he said the other day.
I don't think he'd do IndyCar.
No, exactly. He thinks he says that still scares him. And I think partly it's the ovals that he's not comfortable with the idea of. And
Can't do NASCAR.
he doesn't see that it's fair to go and do a half a season type thing. What's the point? So he thinks someone should be committed to a championship and trying to win a championship if you're racing. But I don't know, that outlook might change with a test or something like that if he is indeed stepping aside after this weekend, which is what looks highly likely, I think, from what we're getting. There's a lot of people hanging around trying to grab him, I will admit.
Yeah, I've been amazed at how Armstrong and Ilott and a few others have and Grosjean have managed to get to grips with oval racing.
Mm-hmm. Look, you said it.
Somebody needs to tell Danny that NASCAR races on ovals.
Yeah,
too.
that might be a problem for him.
Well, I tell you what, though, Daniel Ricciardo and NASCAR, that's a match made in heaven right there. I mean, we saw him race Earnhardt's old car back at COTA back in 21, I think it was. And he was grinning ear to ear.
If Phelps wants to get some real coverage for NASCAR, that would be.
I'll tell you what you just said. I mean, I'm sure he's talking, and he's probably talking contracts and dollars and numbers and going, hey, you know.
How about Lee Diffie, Dale Earnhardt, and Ricciardo as a race commentary?
Oh, my gosh. Yeah. Yeah, that would work. That would work. Hey, Chris, we got a backup because apparently, how was it, Casey? Casey just watched the interview on Twitter. Was it? Yeah, he doesn't confirm or deny. Let's put it that way on an interview.
Should we play it?
Definitely doesn't confirm or deny, but he doesn't deny, and that's the main thing. Daniel right now is being absolutely hounded. He's surrounded by so many RB team members. This is quite bizarre. He's getting applauded in, by the way, by some of his guests here, including Lauren Meckies, actually, the team principal of RB. So has anyone... I haven't looked at my phone, so I should probably check it. But you wonder if someone's been told something internally, because this is very much almost like welcoming back to the team to say goodbye.
Let's I'm checking. Adam Cooper, no, he says.
I do think the choreography.
Well, the cake shows up. Take it to the bank.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think so. No news hit Twitter anyway. How long is that interview? It's 1 minute. We got 4 left in the show.
Give it a go. Give it a go.
All right, Casey, you want to play that? Let's hear from Daniel Ricciardo.
What was kind of running through your mind, because you don't normally do that, and I mean, ultimately, what's going to happen over the next couple of weeks?
Yeah. Well, a lot of emotions, because look, I'm aware it could be it, and yeah, I think it's also just exhausted after the race. So there's so much, I don't know, just like a flood of many emotions and feelings and exhaustion, and the cockpit is something that I got very very used to for many years, and yeah, just wanted to savor the moment.
All right, well, I hope you see you at Austin, Daniel.
Thank you.
All right, see you later.
Wow,
I was having a hard time watching that. He was biting his lip.
Yeah, that was pretty. I mean, he was on the verge of telling us the truth.
Yeah, well, he was also on the verge of tears.
Yeah, and I think he is beholden to the team not to say it. They have to announce it. So.
Yeah,
I think it might be that he's gone asking questions as well, saying, "Look, everyone's talking about this. Somebody come out and give me a straight answer," and they're kind of like, we can't make it. So
I think the reality may be just hitting him now.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially after the exhilaration of getting out of the car, having set fast lap, and a success to follow all the bad times.
And it's not like a golfer, because you're still in your 30s, you're still in your prime in terms of your athletic ability. So, and he may have lost a stride or two in terms of speed, but he's still very much. I mean, he just proved it today. Fastest guy on the track. Over one lap.
Yeah,
that's all he's ever done.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, you can't just hand somebody that car and those fresh tires and go, "Hey, it's a guarantee." It's not a guarantee.
And I'll tell you one thing. That smile, I knew him when he was 15, and I when we were doing Formula BMW, and I remember saying we had a media session, and I said, "Guys, follow Ricciardo's lead. Anytime Ricciardo gets out of a car, he's got a huge smile on his face, and that will put him in good stead for the future, and look what it's done for him."
Oh, nice prediction. I do remember the very first time I saw Daniel Ricciardo in the paddock at COTA. Must have been 2014, 13.
Yeah.
Something like that. In fact, our young intern, Natasha, got an interview with him, and it was easy because he was walking through the paddock by himself. No handler, no nothing, just walking through the paddock.
That's cool.
In fact, I'm not even sure she knew who he was back in the early days. All right, we're out of time, guys. Hey, don't forget, we said COTA coming up in a month, but don't forget Sunday Night with Speed City. Go to our website to find out how to listen to that show, because we do that every Sunday night when there's not a Grand Prix. We do a live show Sunday at 5 p.m. Central Time, Austin Time, 6 p.m. Eastern, and we'll do that during the off season. And of course, if you do come to COTA, you hear us on the microphones, because we'll be doing the PA at COTA, and we'll have some different radio options for COTA. So go to our website to find out all the information, speedcitybroadcast.com. And I want to thank everybody today. Hey, Chris, great job. We got every guest we could hope for today, all the team principals. Bob Varsha, thank you, sir. Jonathan Green, thank you very much. Casey on the producer buttons, thank you. And we will talk to everybody next week.
Happy trails.